Let me tell you a story. So after university, I wanted to become an auditor. I did my research, prepped what I needed to know, and I got ready for my interviews. Had several of them, and after multiple rounds, I managed to get an offer. Then the time came to start my job. Slept early the night before, woke up and had a good breakfast, took the train journey to work a little early, and then it hit me. I don't actually know what an auditor does on a day-to-day basis and how my working day will look like. Welcome back, and if you clicked on this video, chances are you share the same worry, and that's why I'm making this video, so that you don't have to feel that sudden realization when turning up to work, and instead, after watching this, you'll know exactly what you're getting yourself into. So there's a textbook definition of what an auditor does, and I'm sure it'll be something that you've likely memorized already for your interviews. They examine the financial statements prepared by accountants and ensure they represent the company's financial position accurately. And auditors verify that these financial statements, particularly the ones of public companies that are required to be released annually, are factually correct. But I'm going to break this down into something that you can actually all digest and understand from a day-to-day perspective. Now, if you thought being an auditor is a job where you'll be sitting in your comfortable office, then you're in for a shock. You'll rarely be based in your own firm's office and instead be based at your clients when engaged in an audit. As a junior, you'll typically be based on shorter audits, and that's so you can actually gain more work experience, but that also means you'll be traveling a lot more. During my 8-week internship, I worked on 3 audits across London. Now, chances are, if you work in a major city, then your clients will also be based there, meaning you won't really travel large distances. For example, if you're working on financial institutions at a London office, then the majority of your clients will also be based in London, especially the Canary Wharf area. Whereas if you're based at a regional office, then you'll definitely be doing a lot more traveling, as your clients will be smaller companies who will be more spread out. But it's also possible to be engaged in international assignments, as the bigger firms, notably the Big Four, have clients whose offices are based around the globe, and these multinationals will require you to conduct the audits at the headquarters. And I've had friends who in their first years travel to America, Asia to work on audits. Now, traveling may seem great, staying at fancy hotels and eating at different restaurants. I'm not going to lie, it is. But after a week of doing it, you just want to get back home. And honestly, these days, a lot of firms are actually cutting back on the staff expenditure during these engagements, which means the good times are likely on their way out. So your schedule as a junior auditor will already be planned out. In fact, everything you'll be doing during the entire audit will be planned out way before you begin your work. This is done in the pre-planning stage meeting, and generally you won't be included in this meeting as it only consists of the partner responsible for the audit, the manager who will be leading the audit fieldwork, and possibly the assistant manager. The whole point of that meeting is to talk about some of the potential issues faced in past audits, the background of the industry that the customer operates in, as well as where they see the biggest risks occurring in the upcoming audit. Now, when it comes to arriving at the client's office, make sure you get there early. Not only are you trying to show your professionalism to your team members, but you're also representing the firm. You see, maintaining your professionalism throughout the audit is very important. Even if the client has a laid-back office culture, you need to remember that you're there as an independent verifier, that their financial statements are true and fair. This is what the shareholders have trusted you to do, and to achieve this, you need to maintain your independence as well as professionalism. Now, every day as a junior auditor, what you want to be doing is being proactive about the potential risks that are being reviewed. When you get told who the client you'll be working on is, try and do some background research on the company and also look into the sector it operates in to see what kind of issues that they might be facing. For example, if it's a big international firm, foreign currency issues are always going to be a high risk audit point. The main issue will be making sure that they use the correct FX rates throughout the company when converting the numbers from across the globe into their home currency. Now, one last point here is to get yourself correctly set up by knowing how your day is going to look, and that starts with making sure your email inbox isn't cluttered and that you've also read all your emails. You're going to be receiving important updates from your manager about reviews and next steps, and you definitely don't want to be missing these. If you want to learn more about the daily life of actually working in finance, as well as everything else that goes into it, from the best universities to managing your workload, where I share my own personal experiences, then make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all the latest videos. So during the audit, what will actually happen will be you and your team will be based in a room at the client's office, and this is essentially your base during the entire audit. How you actually approach your work will depend if the client is new or an existing client. If it's a new client, then you'll be creating the audit procedures from scratch, and what exactly is going to be included will be decided by the manager in that pre-planning stage meeting. If it's an existing client, then you'll already have last year's audit working papers, and the first thing that you will have to do as a junior auditor will be to roll the dates over to the current year, review the notes from last year's audit team, and re-perform the tests that were previously done. Some of the other tasks that you'll specifically get given as a junior auditor will be around substantive testing, and you'll be put in charge of the basic reconciliations such as tying out cash or bank confirmations. And as an example, one of my clients that was a newspaper, I had to phone up a sample of the advertisers who'd placed ads in the newspaper to confirm that they were indeed legitimate advertisers. Now, when it comes down to it, no one enjoys doing the reconciliations and confirmations. It's super repetitive and it's super boring as well. But don't get me wrong, it's a very, very important part of the audit, and your team will get serious value from you doing the task. They're relying on you and trusting you to make sure you do it well. So whatever you do, however boring it gets, don't skip anything. Importantly, when doing the testing, you'll need information from the client or third parties, and it's important you always know when you expect to receive the information and follow up if you don't get it. As I mentioned, audits are planned in a lot of detail with the exact time period given in advance to the client. Every piece of work has deadlines, and everything you do will usually go through 2 rounds of reviews, one with your manager and then another at the partner level. The partner will want to make sure everything is looking good on the engagement, because they're the ones who will have to have the responsibility to finally sign off on the audit. It's what they get paid big bucks for. And if you want to know more about the salary or what a partner makes, I've already made a video of the salary progression that you can expect at the Big Four, from junior auditor to all the way to partner, which I'll put somewhere above me. But the point here is you don't want to be the person who's holding up the entire audit by not having information that you and your colleagues are relying on to move on to the next stage of the audit. So always stay on top of your deliverables and communicate where you are and what the work that you're waiting on to the rest of the team. So I can understand when you're starting out, it can seem quite nerve-wracking to be questioning the client or phoning up banks to ask for client records, but honestly, it's not as bad as you think. Being auditor is a prestigious job. People will give you a lot of respect for the job that you're doing, and so you don't need to worry about being nervous here. However, don't go into the job and pretend you know everything. Because of the seriousness of the role of an auditor, if you pretend to know something which you actually know nothing about and start making things up, you're just going to cause a lot of issues for everyone else. Right now, you're in a very privileged position that you'll never, ever be in again when it comes to your career. You're a newbie. People expect you to know nothing. So make sure you're asking questions to your team. Why are they doing this? How did this test get chosen? And even better, if you spot a mistake, then bring it up for everyone's attention. Even if it turns out it's not a mistake, it's okay. The team will appreciate that you're actually looking into why you're doing something and not just mindlessly entering numbers. At the end of the audit, your manager and colleagues will usually have a debrief about the audit, as well as opinions on how the team worked together. And you want them in that meeting to be saying that you're someone who's showing a lot of initiative and creativity in their work, which helped them complete their own work. When I started out, making sure I was vocal was something that took me some time to get used to, but once I started asking questions, even basic things such as seeing acronyms written in documents and asking what they stood for, the work felt a lot better, as well as myself becoming more involved in the team. A couple of things here. I'm going to cover the basics because I actually want to make another video on this topic, as there's surprisingly a lot of useful advice I can give. But the main software wherever you're going to be working will be Microsoft Excel. Most students won't have ever used Excel before, so it's not like they're expecting junior auditors to know much about it. But if you do know even the basics, you'll stand out way above all the other graduates. So some good Excel functions to help you in your day job will be pivot tables, VLOOKUPs, sum if formulas, and macros will also be super helpful, although the macros might take a lot longer to learn. Some firms do use more specialized software such as Alteryx, but honestly, just focus on Excel. And when it comes to Excel, if you're trying to do something in a more efficient manner, just Google it. A good example I can give from my own experience was receiving data in some random messed up order, and I needed to format all of it. I started formatting them one by one and it was taking quite some time, but after Googling the issue, I managed to find a formula which did it all automatically, and it helped me save a lot of time, as well as my team members not even knowing about that formula. So that goes to show, number one, just Google Excel issues online. Trust me, someone else in the world has already faced that issue. And two, you might end up finding something which your teammates might not even know about, which they'll really appreciate. Now, this is something which really sucks, but everyone has to go through it, and that's busy season. In the UK, it's usually the first 3 months of the year, and I cannot emphasize enough how much you will have absolutely zero life for these 3 months. Zero. Everything will be decided in advance from your team, as well as the work allocations, and I can only say, try your best to keep up morale during this time, as people will get agitated with the long hours, working on weekends, and definitely no holidays allowed during these 3 months. But make sure you decompress however you do it, whether that's going to the gym at night, maybe going out for walks to get some fresh air, or just getting some good sleep. Whatever you do, just try and survive. So going from busy season to going to college and studying, it actually feels like a great break from the work life and sort of resembles like you're back at university. Of course, the pressure is a lot higher, as a majority of accounting firms, especially the Big Four, will often have as part of their contracts, if you fail an exam, then you will lose your job. Usually they will allow one fail, but that is some serious pressure while studying to make sure you pass, especially since whilst you might be off for 2 weeks to attend college, you will have to study outside of those 2 weeks, which means you'll have to do studying after a full day of work, which can get very, very tiring. If you're starting to look into becoming an auditor and you want to brush up on a very common interview question, I've already made a video on that question, which will give you a perfect answer in under 4 minutes. I'm going to leave that next to me, so go check that out, and I'll see you all in the next video.